Now. Okay. Good morning, good evening, depends where you are. I'm Irene Wong. I'm a co-owner of a ballroom dance shop's Dancewear Work and a pro-am competitor dancer for 16 years. I'm your host for Everything Ballroom, the YouTube channel. Our goal is to share the joys of ballroom dancing and also inspire more people to join the ballroom dance world and understand the fascinating industry. So we hope you like what we do and give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, Everything Ballroom. Okay, today I'm so excited to introduce one of my favorite. And before she became a champion, I already told her she has the style I really like. And I already told her I want to be my coach. That was many years ago. And now she became our US national and world professional champion rhythm. So to me, I saw her change and grows. It's just amazing. So I can't wait to introduce her to you. She also owned a dance studio in Chelsea, New York, by the Hudson Yard. So definitely go check it out. And she's a wonderful, wonderful a dancer and a studio owner and teacher. So I can't wait to introduce today our guests and the champions. Jessa Mae Jarina Briones. Yay!
Hi.
Thank you for
You're
joining.
welcome. Pleasure to
Before
be
we
here.
Yes, before we start, I would like you to give a little bit of introduction, of course, for the people, the audience here. So tell us a little bit about when do you start this ballroom journey and maybe a little bit fun fact that people don't know about you.
Yes, of course. So I started ballroom dancing, I would say, at the age of 14. We do some activities in school, and I got um, asked by my teacher to just represent dance sport in our class. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Like I always have an inkling in dancing, but never tried ballroom before. So I did that, and pretty much the summer of that year, my mom actually enrolled me to a free summer dance sport summer workshop. There is like every year, Philippine government, in which my hometown in Cebu City does this summer workshop for kids who, first of all, can afford, because ballroom dancing is pretty much like an expensive hobby per se, but they basically had it for like kids in like I mountain barangays, mountain or also just like the urban places as well. So it was mainly everywhere, and they had volunteers that were part of the team. So eventually, I did not stop. I was enrolled together with my four brothers when I started, and yeah, I'm
All
the
four
only
of you
girl.
guys dance?
Yes, yes. But like of course I stayed. I loved it. Like now my brothers are graduate of like of course of different colleges, and pretty much I'm the one who kind of like really stayed and like really fell for it. So, but we started together. Literally, my mom was like, instead of getting into different hobbies or petty crimes or anything else, like that was like the best thing to do for summer instead of just playing in streets and just have different activity to do. So through that, also I became part of the dance sport team Cebu City, and years after that, the moment I became part of the team, I was able to give back by actually, volunteering to teach kids in mountain places for free as well. So that was very fulfilling, and by then never stopped, and came here in the United States in 2012. So yeah, that's
So that's
basically.
not too long, actually, compared to a lot of the dancers, right? A lot of them start in European. They all start with the age of 6 and 9. So you start at 14. And
Yes.
definitely it's yeah, and then you become champion after 2 years with your new partner,
Two and a
right?
half.
Two
Mhm.
and a half years. That's a very short time. So
Yes.
how do you do it? what is the tips? Everybody wants to.
I think it's really also all about because like we own different studios, and pretty much like we have our different locations. So we always like train or bus going back and forth to each other. But I think it's like wanting it. So I've always had the feeling of like I'm competitive, but at the same time, you know, I try to work with the great sense of like just making sure everything is organized, and at the same time like we are like always constantly checking in with each other. So I think it's also all about like he had definitely like have so much passion. Like I think that helps a lot with and teamwork. That is a huge part of our like growth and our success and development with the craft that we do. And yeah, like I think also like just having the sense of core to ground you when things doesn't go um, with the way you plan it, so that you keep on going. So you have to have like a great source of you know, core reason why you do what you do, so you keep doing it in whatever instances or whatever trials or tribulations like that you would, I guess, face.
Right. So that is the very key, right? I saw a lot of people, go up and down and then left. So what is your why? Why it's keeping you going and you want
Interesting. Yeah, I think my why is always that sense of it makes me feel alive, you know. um I mean, so many people spend so much just to feel that, and like people get it from different things really. Like people have different hobbies, people have different ways to feel that sense. Like if some people ask me like, do you still feel nervous during competition? I'm like, yeah, always. Like the same feeling as like having the stomach turn inside out, all of these things. Like, you know, being in that moment always reminds me like to be grateful and thankful that I still do feel those things. And I think it's one of the reasons again why I do it, because like I for me at least, the moment I stop feeling that is the moment I stop either caring, the moment I stop um, believing, the moment I stop you know, pushing, the moment I stop feeling alive. And I think that sense of nervousness and being that in that like, I don't know, just feeling alive. I
Yeah,
think it's
I really
I
like
do
what
it.
yeah, I really like what you just said, right? So being be able to be nervous is a privilege, sometimes, right? Be there and because you feel, because you care, because you believe all these things,
100%.
because we want it and you want it. That's
Yes.
why you're nervous, right? If you don't care, you don't believe, and you
Yeah.
become not living. So I really
Yes.
truly believe what you just said apply not just for dancing, for life in
Mhm.
general, right? Because
Exactly.
everyone, if you have your attitude, that's why you're a champion attitude,
Thank
always
you.
pursuing, to going and never stop. And you did mention that one thing is that very important for me, I catch it, is that when things are not going our way, it's not as you're planted, and
Yeah.
we don't just give up, right? We continue.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
think this is the champion attitude, and that's why in champion, no matter what you do, you'll be successful with that kind
Exactly.
of attitude.
Exactly. 100%.
Right. So now we're talking about, what are the, we'll say, the top things, I think for professional dancer and pro am dancers, probably a little bit different. So how you advise, ladies like us as a pro am or as a professional competitor, what are the top thing we need to be focused in order to achieve, a higher goal, whatever the goal we
Mhm.
set, right?
I think it's very important for me, at least as an educator too, as a teacher, to have the sense of like always checking in with your instructor and always checking in with like, especially if I go to a competition with my students, because during the time when you work in the studio, it's quite different when you go on a competition. That's for sure. So like I try to give them at least like um, a narrowed down things to think about during the competition, like for general, like let's say again we work on so many things in different dances, and let's say I compete with them for like smooth and rhythm at the same time at a competition. So like I just give them at least 2 to 3 things to be like, okay, for as long as you're doing these 2 to 3 things for me, and we'll constantly check in as we go during the competition, I'd be happy, because that's what we've been working on, and not just give them too many things all at once. I think it's a great thing, because like I am a huge believer of like big or small, you need to learn how to celebrate those little things, because again, right, like especially in what we do, because we also do it like physically, sometimes we don't really like um right away feel the progress we are making. But sometimes, again, having your instructor and telling you and guiding you and saying, hey, yeah, like you probably don't feel a ginormous amount of progress, but like I'm seeing this, and that. And like just that, having that like clarity for us at least, to be like, okay, great, I'm in the right direction, and there's no rushing things, and that like I will get to where I need to be, in a certain time together with my teacher. I think that for me is a lot.
So I really like what you say, celebrate the little things. And it's difficult for me to do either, because we always criticize ourselves, right? I hate watching my
Exactly.
own video. Oh, says seeing the video, it's just hating it. So it's not easy, like what you
Yeah.
said, to celebrate, little thing every single time I just looking at my video. I only pick on ourselves, right? So
Believe me, it's no different from us. I don't either for myself, but like if I change the way I view it and see it more as like learning instrument, then I kind of like feel different about watching myself. So yeah, I totally agree with
yeah, so that is the one thing need to keep constantly reminding us and say, okay, we
you.
are making progress. So we don't feel it's a failure. A lot of time is I see a lot of ladies, because I become so focused on the having joy. So I don't feel as much, but I do understand, feeling depressed when we're trying to
Mhm.
achieve, but not always get what we wanted. So
Yeah.
that is the important piece. So now you become a champion. Do you find things different? You know?
Actually, recently I've just like I'm getting these questions too. But you know what? Like I've probably people will think at this time, at this point, like dancing together for 2.5 years and all of these things. Like I've to be honest, I've never felt as excited as I can be in like in where I am right now. Like not even excited because we won the national championship and the world championship. No, I'm like excited with the way I feel with my dancing right now. So not just like for myself, but also the way Francesco and I actually already start to like really kind of like when like words just come together and start like it's like learning a new language, and like you now kind of catching it up, like it's that's the way I feel about our dancing as a team and my dancing as well. Like I've never felt this excited like in my dance journey. And I think again that's like, I mean, it's just great because like the more I dance now, the more I just feel like I want more. Like I want more of that feeling of like, again, not really about winning, but like the feeling of like just being able to like hold each other and like dance and like having this new feeling of like things that you learn. like things that you've been constantly working on, and it just click and feel right. Like I think that's where I'm at, with the way I feel about.
So
Yeah.
I really want to, yeah, echo what you said, right? So you mentioned one thing is so critical. So a lot of, at least pro-am lady that I talk to is really focused on the winning part. But what you say is like hit home, right? It's not about winning or losing. It's about the feeling and the learning journey of this dancing. Dance, and then you feel good about the dancing. You constantly finding clicking on the move or the way of you dancing. So that is so important. So I think that also, I believe that's how you become champions because you focus on the feeling instead of too harsh on
Yeah.
winning moves.
And I mean, of course, when you win, this also just gives you a confirmation that what you're doing is right and that you're in the right direction. So it's really definitely a great feeling. But I am just grateful that I still feel that feeling of like, my gosh, like I can't wait until the next practice. Like I would love it. Yeah.
So you're talking about practice. You can't wait
Mhm.
to the next practice. I have the problems. I don't practice enough. That's why I have to become champion. How do you practice? What do you advise to pro-am ladies? A lot of time we say, oh, it's hard to practice by ourselves. What is your recommendation? Do you have a set of routines, or you want to keep constantly practice? What is your recommendation
Yeah.
on that?
I mean, definitely like practicing the basic, you don't need your, like, technically, let's say if there are a lot of times when your partner is unavailable, like to practice with you constantly, like the basic is always a great way to just like come back to kind of like your home. Like that's kind of like where you just like, aside from routines and all of that, it's always great to come back to the basics. So that's what I'm trying to say. But at the same time, I think again, having an organized things of like, what do I need to work on, and checking in with your instructor as to like what are the priorities right now, to kind of like to focus, so that you don't again end up overwhelming yourself and get burnt out, or get um like you said, right, disappointed, because you don't feel this, you don't feel that. But like again, a great sense of having a certain, I think, focal point to what to work on is a lot, especially for like, uh, especially if you don't have all the, I would say, resources to just practice the whole day, you know, and have a limited time.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
So, that is important for the practice standpoint. I need to go back to the basics, right? So we want to do
Yes.
that. Do you recommend us the basic or have a choreograph, routine you practice from that standpoint?
I think both, really, like to have a combination of both, because you also want sometimes when you practice a basic where you just don't like think about your routine and just like dance and feel, you know? And not that you don't just dance and feel when you do a routine, but pretty much there is always like in a routine there is a strategic choreography of like just having a different sense of, I would say, again, focus of it. Yeah, so I think a combination of both is definitely very helpful and essential.
Great. So for the competition, right? You're in the final. So do you have a strategy of, okay, catching the attention, mark me, right? Do you have a strategy or advice for a competitive, like us?
um what do you mean strategy, like
You say,
in
I want to do something, is there anything that you do to catch the judge attention of this? But you think just, no, I don't care. I just dance. There's some people. So the final, do you do something? Is it crazy or Something.
No, yeah, I probably am one of those people that just like pretty much dance. And again, when you are in the moment, things could happen that you don't plan on doing, and like, and that's what makes it so special. And pretty much like you don't really want a competition to feel the same each time. So like having those moments, and like maybe it happens out of nowhere and it actually what made it so special, you know. But in terms of competition, this is just in general, I always like finals, not finals, just before we go on the dance floor, it's always great to just team up and have a great sense of, we always pray, we always like just put on like what do we want to put out there, and just make sure that like we pray not just for ourselves but also like for our colleagues, to just everyone not get any injuries, or like everyone to be safe, and just like put everyone's like put all of our hearts out there and just have fun, and like, you know, like having just a great sense of that just makes me feel very like there's a certain like feeling of like warmth inside me, just makes me feel like okay, I'm ready. Like, yeah, for both of us, I think ever since we started, there's like we always come together before we go, 5-10 minutes before, like we check in and pray and just have fun after, so we don't get into our heads.
Great. That's important. To have fun after is important, and then
Yeah.
get in advance. So that's so important. You mentioned Francesco is, I know, your love of your life, you know, your partner also. A lot of people, actually, especially in the professional world, at least
Mhm.
what I heard a lot of say, oh, I want to keep my marriage. I cannot dance with my partner.
Right,
I cannot compete with my partner. What's your
right.
tips? You know, how do you, you know, share with people and say, it's okay, it's good. You guys doing great.
I mean, we haven't, we just, we danced together for like 2.5 years, but we didn't really like, became like, partners until like, April of this year. So there's definitely, I mean, Francesco is different, I would say, for sure. Like he is very passionate. Doesn't matter what you talk about, yeah, with anything. So like even sometimes he will actually constantly remind me of how like I should value like myself so much, because like I am sometimes I put other people more than myself, and like actually think a lot about them and like be like this, be like that. But I actually I think he's such a great and healthy force into um, myself. And I mean, there's always those days that like you fight, right? Because that happens. But like what I do really love about like when we fight or we argue is that because he's very passionate about like a good thing. Like it's very like it always comes from I would say a good sense and a good genuine place. So um, I think for as long as you know that like your partner or like that they are like they are genuine, and at the same time that you know that they're coming from a good place, it's always I think good to check in with yourself as well and say like okay, like because sometimes you know in things like that, of course we have pride and we want to just like say whatever we want to say also. But it actually being with him reminds me to also check in with myself and be like okay, so what do we want to do and what do we want to create? Because sometimes like I would say one thing, he would say a different thing, but we would mean the same thing. But like of course it's, and it's funny because sometimes it's also just because like he's Italian and I'm Filipina, like the way they say things could be like, again, we could mean the same thing but just say it differently. So sometimes I have to just like okay, yeah, so we mean the same thing, there's no like yeah. But I think it's been great. So
Communicate.
Check,
Sounds to
check.
me, check in. And then from what I hear, you know, I'm trying to summarize what you say. Communications, right? So I'm some
100%.
reflection, don't be too fast to judge. Sometimes they say different things, but meant the same thing. But sometimes say something may not be in the what you're thinking, but because it coming from the good direction, we need to be understanding and supportive. So
100%. And
so
I mean, sorry.
no, that's what I'm trying to summarize. Communication.
Yeah. And that actually helped me a lot because like I'm a type of person where, and again, I keep things to myself because I'm not very like very vocal, especially with like how I feel. But that's what I started learning more within like these years. And that like, you know, there's for as long as again you're coming from the right place, like you can say what you feel and at the same time, like you should, because like people can't read minds, you know, so it's great.
Oh, I love that point. A lot of guys say, I can't read your mind. You know, a lot of women don't tell them, oh, we expect you understand what I'm thinking, but sometimes we say it out, and especially the feelings, right? And there's no, I keep saying that sometimes the right and wrong is not right and wrong. There's no 100% right or 100% wrong. It really depends on your angle, how you see things, and how make you feel. So I love the whole thing you talk about, feelings.
Yeah. And sometimes how you deliver what you just said means even more.
Yes, it's not what you say, but how you say it.
100%.
So this is so good. So I know that you have a time crunch that need to have your lessons. I have some guests here, so I have a few more questions, but I want to let the guests, you know, who want to ask question and then raise your hand and, you know, at least give them a chance. To
That's good.
Amber, I know you have some questions.
No, I actually don't have a question. You answered all of them, but I am just
Hey, Amber, sorry, I just watched the grid.
Congratulations.
Yes. I actually, you asked Irene, you asked all the questions I would have had. So I love those. Actually, I got emotional when you were talking about how more so you felt about your dancing was more valuable than the winning. And I totally resonate with that. And so it like choked me up a little bit because I totally resonate with that. So thanks for saying that.
Thank you.
That's so beautiful. And I hope more and more, you know, I think a lot of ladies that's so focused on the winning. So that's the pressure is immense. And then they lose the joys and the feeling of dancing. So you know, these winners, you know, talking about that is so important. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, I thank you for that, Amber, because I really truly value like when I watch you and all these things you post, like you're very, very smart and that like you actually have the great sense of like I resonated with that as well, like with everything that you actually put out online.
Thank you. Well, and I think too, as somebody, you know, some of us experience success a lot and some of us not as much. And so I think it's easy for people to say, oh, it's easy when you win a lot to say it doesn't really matter. It's not as important. But I actually just really do truly feel like when you experience the success, then you know it can be hollow. It can be empty. Like it's not the success itself. It's really your dancing. And it breaks my heart a little bit when we dance and we feel so good about our dancing. And then you get a negative result. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that must have been terrible and embarrassing. And all of a sudden now you feel bad about your dancing when you just loved it. And so really that is the most valuable thing. And I appreciated what you said when you said the winning is a confirmation. It is a confirmation. And it is a validation. Like it does matter. I mean, we're competing, it does matter. But really it's like how you feel about your dancing and how it's going. I totally agree with that.
Great. So if you don't have other questions, I have a couple more. So I asked the question before, but you didn't answer it. You know, let us, because I always say, hey, the champion, let's know about you. Tell us something that we know normally we don't know about.
I mean, I already told Irene actually over the message. I eat a lot. Like
Who
Francesco
would
can
know
testify.
you like a steak? Okay.
I mean, I grew up eating rice like in every meal. So like coming in here, I didn't really want to change that, like because like that's where at first I feel home. I feel like I'm eating something very nutritious because like if you have rice like back home, like then you're good with anything, literally. But I enjoy trying different cuisines, and actually, I mean, Francesco is very Italian, but I'm actually very, very happy and thankful that I am with someone who actually is very open to trying things. Like now he can eat Korean barbecue. Now he can eat literal hot pot, like all these new cuisines, and he's just like a kid, you know? And yeah, so we enjoy actually, that's one of the things we do when we celebrate like winnings or like little things. Like we try to eat something very hard, like what do you call it, like heartwarming food, like
Home warming,
heart, yeah,
yeah, just heart, basically we said a comfort food,
comfort food, yeah. But I like food in general. I just try, I mean, basically
we can
just
go out to
also
eat.
just to also not say, oh, I eat just anything. I actually try avoiding eating oily foods, like oil.
Healthy.
I mean, even if I try, I actually my body actually will reject it. Like I will, excuse the word, vomit oil. Like I can't eat oil or oily. Like so anything like that is fatty, I can't. Like it just doesn't go.
That's good
So
though, that's why you are thin. So maybe that's the tips.
maybe, but please eat. That's like, I mean, I think like with what we do also like just helps a lot with our metabolism. Like just dancing in general just makes it a lot more, I would say, balanced.
Okay,
Any
that's good. Yeah, I'm just asking the team on this. I didn't give any other Carol or Ellie another chance to if they want to ask questions.
I see.
Okay, Ellie, go ahead.
I want to ask that. So now you won this time. So I know that you said that you enjoy. You have to have the feeling you enjoy. But do you now have pressure about, oh, I won this time, so if I don't win next time, then I'm very stressful, so I need to win next time. Do you feel that?
Always. Yeah, so there is definitely the pressure. Like I think now more than ever, because like before we were just very fresh, very new, and we were just going for it, right? Shooting for the stars. But now I think we're working even harder, and at the same time, of course, smarter, because you cannot, like with the way we do our things, we cannot just also like kill ourselves, kill our bodies. Like you have to, I mean, not work like we like working hard is actually like something that like we do a lot, but like smart as well, because you should know when is the time to take it and like sleep more, just like for as long as you plan things around. But like definitely there's definitely pressure, there is I don't know, I've never walked in a on deck area and felt like I'm better than all of this. Like I don't know, like that feels weird to me, because like I guess when that day again happens, like then something is wrong. I need to check in with myself and like like have a different or shift of focus, so that like there's a constant challenge. So definitely like that's one of the reasons that would probably make us want to grow and do more, and like have a lot more things to like push us. Yeah, but that
Thank
pressure
you.
will always be there.
Got you. Thank you.
It's pressure. We just heard that words, right? Pressure is a privilege. You have pressure because you want. It's a privilege.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. So one one last one, so time management, so that I heard about it times and times again, right? So you are so busy, you are a studio owner, you're a teacher, you are becoming champion. how do you recommend people, the detail, how you manage it? So any specific?
Yeah, I mean, definitely planning, organizing is like the top tier of what makes it less overwhelming, because it will get busy for sure.
So when you say planning, what do you do? Do you have a
We
count?
we open our calendar. I look at my studio calendar. I look at my competition calendar, and I sit down with my team and basically go over, so that the activities in the studio doesn't merge with the competition plans, and basically on what we are planning or where we're going. So yeah, a lot of that. And one thing I learned, which was very surprising, and like I've never thought I would apply it a lot, is taking notes. Just take notes. Like I have a, I can say I have a good memory, but with you being present in so many different areas, I think having a place to write down, even if again, you can trust yourself so much, like, oh, I will remember it. But like, I think it's me actually having the feeling of like, okay, I do have a good memory, but I will just write it down just in case, just remind me. So actually I have a list of notes. Like if you go over my iPhone, I have notes for like,
You use iPhone?
yeah, iPhone, iPad, but like just having a place to write down things just helps me a lot, because again, me, like I think it helps to tell yourself that like, hey, try not to trust your memory and just jot it down. Just jot it down. Cause like again, when things get crazy, at least you can come back to your phone and be like, oh right, this one, I need to do this, this, and this. Like that's one of the things that I've never thought like I would actually like that would help me a lot with organizing things. But definitely sitting down with your team, putting a plan together and organizing things helps in huge and a big sense of it. And again, I also think if you love what you do, you'll put time to it. Like you'll like, when I'm teaching or when I'm in the studio, my headspace is completely different. Like it's in a different mode. It's more in the educational mode and like more in the business mode. And that's why also like I don't mind either practicing before or after work, because it gives me also like when we dance, it's like when you dance, you forget about things, right? So like you just dance and you just have fun and you just actually like, it gives me a different sense of feeling. So even working in a dance world is for me, it's not, and dancing is completely different. So I don't feel overwhelmed with the, oh my God, another dancing, or like, oh my God, I'm in the dance studio and it's about dancing again. Like I see it differently. And I mean, we organize things differently for our students, especially with, we have a Fred Astaire system. Like it's very like, I have like just two completely different things.
But the compartmentalize your
Mhm.
actions and jot it down and,
Exactly.
prioritize and plan ahead, that all with a note. I'm gonna
Yes.
do that.
Always.
Because I forget things. I keep saying that I'm too old.
I mean,
I'm getting
just
older.
for example, I have, this is just like, let's say all of this, and then I would have bullet points. Like that's just one of my many notes.
So you put in the note app basically.
Yeah. I mean, right now, especially with iPhone, like from your notes, you can easily send it through text or like put it in a document. Like it's very like more like helpful right now with everything. I
That
use
sounds
it all.
Yeah, that sounds super. I need to use more. Actually, my husband reminded me, but I never really use it so much.
Nice.
Now sometimes husbands
Yeah.
tell us we don't ever do it, but when Olympian tell us, so we'll do it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you so much. I know you need to go and then you have your lessons, and so grateful for your time. And again, so you're one of my favorite
Thank you. Thank you
dancers.
for having me and actually organizing this. I think this is a wonderful, you know, space for everyone to just like come together to. Yeah. So like, I think it's great.
Thank you so much. Amber, we're gonna have our next soon. Thank you. Thank you. Right now, so I hope you like what we do, Everything Ballroom. If you like, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Everything Ballroom.